You know, if my wife calls me one more time, I'm going to hire a hit on her. This is like take 3. Yeah. Whatever. Hey everybody, how's it going today? Todd the Cheap Drums guy. I've been a lazy slob all week because I'm on vacation and I like it a lot. I do. I spent a lot of time down here playing the drums. I didn't go look into the classes with a drum coach like I said I was going to. I'll get around to it, but right now it's not a number one priority. But I have played the drums quite a bit. As you see, I set up the Pro kit. I have some tweaking to do with that. And I'm looking forward to playing a little bit today. And maybe take a nap. Yeah, I think that's in order because I still got, quite a bit of vacation to deal with. But while I was down here, I remembered something on my Olympic kit. And you can see there's the floor tom to my lovely Olympic kit, which is my favorite kit. I absolutely love that thing. What the issue was with the floor tom and its bearing edge. Now, those of you not familiar with what a bearing edge is, well, if you're watching the drum channel, you probably are familiar. But generally, it's the cuts on the top and bottom of your drum shell to allow your heads to seat with the minimal amount of resistance on the shell, so the shell can resonate more freely. Now, bearing edges are usually cut on the inside at a 45-degree angle all the way around, with the exception of Gretsch and a couple others maybe. Theirs is usually a 30-degree cut. And on the outside, it's usually just a simple round over. Now, for the most part, these shells are flat, very, very flat. If you want to get anal retentive, you can go find one of those big granite countertops that are perfectly flat, set it down on there with a light on the inside, and look along the bottom and see if light protrudes. If it does, that's a simple fix. All you have to do is tape down some sandpaper on top of that very, very flat surface, put your shell on there, work it back and forth, until such a time whereas you don't see that light shine through anymore. Nice and flat. Does it have to be that perfect all the time? No, it really doesn't. And from what I do, just as a drum hobbyist, I don't have to have all that massive precision. It is what it is down here. All right, it's some old dude in his hobby drum set. It doesn't have to be that precise. And considering the kits I'm using, all of my drum sets combined cost as much as just one of their cymbals. Well, actually, probably won't even cost as much as one of those. Some of those do. But anyways, I do want to take care of what I have and utilize it to its best potential. So on this particular floor tom, the bearing edge on there, I noticed when I put the heads on it that they didn't seat properly. They really did. It wasn't perfect. You put them on there and you tap each side, and you got to make sure it doesn't wobble. It just wobbled just a little bit. So I did find the high spot and I sanded it down. And then while I was sanding that little high spot down, I did go back in and rework the bearing edges because they were a little rough. And actually the head doesn't touch that part of the bearing edge, really. So is it really that important? No, it's not. Everybody else will say, "Oh my God, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. You got to be. It's got to be like it was molded." Tell me that when you got everything hooked up to your mics and your DAWs and your playing it with it on your computer, adjusting the sounds, that it's got to be that perfect. No, it does not. But you want it as perfect as it can be right out from the get-go. So I did sand it, but wood is wood. Wood is, well, some of it's dense, but it's still very porous. All right, so you can still feel, even though you sanded it, you can still feel little blemishes and whatnot and imperfections in the wood. That's what makes wood so beautiful, it's the imperfections though. Is there a way to fix that? Yes, there is. Some people put stock into this, others do not. But if you've got some candles laying around your house, or even Vaseline, we can make that about as perfect as we can get. Now, we have a number of candles around our house, and some of them big honking ones kind of burn strangely, and they get these weird shapes and of the excess of the melted wax taking this very strange shape. And so as you can see, no, that's not one of my nice wife's toenails she cut. She's going to be really pissed when she sees that. This is a piece off of one of the candles. All right, do we need it? No, we don't need it. It's the rest of the candle's still there. It's fine. But I can use this. Now, what's the wax going to do when you rub it in there? Well, what the wax is going to do is it's going to deposit little bits of itself in those little pores. Okay, it's going to make that, well, initially it's going to be a little rough to the touch, but once we work this in around the bearing edge, we're going to then rub it in, and what it's going to create is a much smoother surface, and there'll be a noticeable difference when we put the head back on it. I'm sure there is going to be. So I haven't put the head back on it since I sanded it, that one spot. Well, I did just to test to make sure it was flat. But all you need to do, that's not really rocket science. Okay, you just want to coat the bearing edge and the roundover with the wax. Now, it's going to make everything smoother. So one, your head is going to seat on there much, much better. So all you have to do is rub it in real quick. And I'll make this really fast because it doesn't have to be, I mean, it's my page, really. I mean, it's my video page, so has it got to be perfect? No, it does not. But we don't want to do a half-assed job either. So let me just rub this in real quick on the inside. Now I'm kind of turning my hand as I'm rubbing it because that way, because not all of these cuts on the bearing edges are perfect. So you just want to make sure you're getting all of it in there, or you're coming in contact with it all, so it leaves a little bit of residue of the wax. Now you can, as I'm doing this, you can hear that. You can tell there's little tiny bumps and whatnot because it's not perfect. But the longer I sit there on that spot, the less you hear that. Why? Because the wax is filling in the imperfections. Let me do the round over real quick. Now, I watched a number of videos on this, and the guy demonstrated afterwards just how well it worked. Now, with recording the way it is, and some people's really poor methods of doing so, only on one video did I hear a noticeable change. And it was quite obvious. There was a change. So I put a little stock into this. So right now, do I have anything here No, I'm unprepared. So after waxing the bearing edge, there's a lot of excess wax laying on the edge itself. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to go like this and run my fingers back and forth along there, and what I'm doing is pressing the wax into those little pores. Back and forth, and it's creating a slicker surface on the bearing edge. So when we do put that head back on, it's going to be about as perfect as you can get for a very inexpensive drum set. Just because it is inexpensive doesn't mean it has to sound inexpensive. I really love the way this kit sounds with those aquarium heads. And there's a little spot right there. And all it took just a couple seconds. The sound is gone. So, now with the wax, it's kind of a, well, you know what wax feels like. So it's not going to feel baby bottom smooth. It's not, because it's wax. But by working it in there, we've made that bearing edge about as smooth as we can now. So when we take Mr. Drumhead here, make a mess and a noise. Where are we? Because the name has got to be where the badge is. That's the law. Look at that. All right. So that wax has created a nice smooth edge, whereas that head is going to sit on there perfectly. Again, the bearing edge on this isn't perfect, but without putting hours and hours of work into it and taking it to a wood shop and getting it that perfect, what we've done is about the best we can on the cheap. So now this head I think it's just because it's been sitting on there. It looks like it's a little, yeah, it's in the head itself. But she's going to sit on there nicely now. And there's going to be less friction when you do tighten it down. It's going to put less friction on this head. So hopefully we're going to have a better overall sound, providing I get it tuned right. Drum dial. But that's it. Short, sweet, and to the point. Now there was other drummers when they're talking about the bearing edges and whatnot. There were others talking about waxing the entire shell on the inside, which also helps the wood out. Which I would agree with that. Sealing the wood would help it out quite a bit. And this hoop I know is bent, so I don't know much about that. Actually, if you do wax the inside of that shell, it's going to be quite a long process. But I'm sure the wood is going to benefit from that as well as wax. There are, who is it? Drum Dial makes a product. It looks like a little chapstick container that is made just for running around your bearing edges, and you work that in there as well. Just go buy chapstick. The chapstick's what, $1? That Drum Dial stuff is probably $10. Who knows? I didn't even bother looking it up. I thought it was just asinine. So just go get a regular blank chapstick. You don't need all colored crap, just the regular plain one, and get it on there. Regular Vaseline as well. People were using, I saw a guy rubbing those into the inside of his shells. And I thought, well, I don't know much about that. I really don't want to explore that. And I don't want to steer anybody the wrong way. So we'll just leave that one alone. But a number of guys swear by waxing their bearing edges or also using Vaseline on there. And is it going to hurt anything? No, it's not. It should help preserve that wood and make contact with your drum head much smoother and hopefully bring out better sound. But anyways, that's it for this one. I told you it was going to be short and sweet. Don't need to be long. And I've got a lot of vacation. I've got a very important nap. Yeah, very important nap scheduled for today. So I don't want to keep myself waiting. But anyways, you people have a great week. Take care of yourselves. I'm Todd, the Cheap Drums Guy. And I'm going to rock out too. Peace!